Hey everybody, we are out here at the coast today, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you guys how I have my van set up for surfing. One of the reasons I got into vans in the first place is because I love to do stuff in the outdoors, just like I'm sure you guys do, and surfing is definitely at the top of my list. So surfing with the van is so cool. You can have multiple boards with you. I pretty much have my wetsuit on me at all times. Got a nice hot shower to clean up afterwards, and of course a bed in the van so that I can stay near the coast, get up early, and go catch some waves. So taking a look at where you can store surfboards on a van, you basically have three options. You can keep the surfboards inside, you can store them on the side of the van with something like a surf pole, or you can keep them on the roof rack. My preferred location to keep my boards is on the roof rack. I don't like to have my boards inside the van because I carry two surfboards with me. One of them is a 9-foot longboard and the other one is a 6-foot fish. And they're too big and too messy for me to keep them inside the van comfortably. And so I don't really have to worry about them when they're always on the top. Also, I don't really like to store my surfboards on the side of the van because there's always a chance that they would get damaged or that somebody might be inclined to mess with it or even steal it. So I keep my surfboards up top. Let me show you guys how my setup looks. I'll show you what carrier I use to hold the surfboards. And I also want to talk to you about a few of the compromises that you make anytime you add some gear like this to your van. So let's go up to the top and take a look. Here we are up on top of the van. And first of all, I wanted to mention that I do have a full roof rack with a walkable deck up here. And I think that's really important if you carry a lot of gear. You want to be able to get up next to your gear and strap it down and be able to walk around it, as opposed to a roof rack where you can only access it from the side ladder. Like if it doesn't have a walkable deck, you're basically loading everything from the side ladder. To me, this is a lot more comfortable. And also I can be up here and get a view of the ocean or just hang out on the top. So I'm currently carrying two surfboards. I use the Thule stand-up paddleboard. I think it's called the Sup Taxi. I'll leave a link in the description below. And it's meant for carrying stand-up paddleboards, but I really liked it because it's wide, so it carries my longboard, and I could probably fit actually up to 3 or 4 surfboards stacked on top of each other if I wanted to with this carrier. So just something to mention, I really like to have my surfboards on the top. I keep them in protective covers so they're out of the sun, and also if a branch scrapes across it, it's gonna protect the board. But I feel like with the boards up here, I can keep them with me most of the time, as opposed to having them inside where they always seem to be in the way. One thing that I want to share with you guys that I think gets overlooked a lot is the fact that anytime you add something to a van, you have to give something up. And we tell our clients this all the time, just be aware. Everything you add, there is a sacrifice that comes with it, and having the surfboards up here is a perfect example. So I currently am carrying 2 surfboards and they fit up here just fine. I have them with me a lot of the time. But when these surfboards are up here, I have 3 compromises that I have to make. The first is that it covers about half of my solar panel. And so I'm only getting about half of the solar gain that I normally would when the surfboards are up here. The other thing is I have an Arctic Tern skylight, and that will only open a couple inches with the board up here. Fortunately, my Max Air fan does open all the way and function normally even with the boards. The final thing is I have the mobile Starlink, and that is mounted in the same location as the surfboards go. So if I need to use Starlink, then I have to either move the surfboards out of the way or not bring them at all with me. So just something to consider. You want to really think about where you're going to store your gear, and there's really not as much room on a roof rack as most people think, especially on a 144 van. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so I'm going to head down and show you guys one more tip that I use for storing my wetsuit so that I don't have to put it inside when it's completely wet. So the last thing I wanted to show you guys is how I manage the wetsuit, because coming back from surfing when this is totally wet, I don't want to put it inside and have to worry about it creating puddles or having some sort of bin to put it inside. So first thing I do when I come back, I have an outdoor shower connection right here. So I'll rinse off all the salt water really well, get the sand and everything off the wetsuit. At that point, it's dripping wet again. So this is an Owlvans Sherpa with some Max Tracks on it. And what I do actually is hang this off of there and then put a couple bungee cords around this to hold it on. And then I'm able to drive down the road and let it air dry for a couple of hours before I move it inside. And then I don't have to worry about anything getting wet inside the van. All right, guys. I hope that you guys like the video. If you're a surfer too and you have a different setup, we'd love for you guys to leave a comment because I want to see how you guys are carrying your boards and how vans are helping you get out there and catch more waves. See ya.